Hello, everyone. I wanted today to talk about humans in all this AI transformation world. We nowadays talk a lot about how the AI will change the way we work, how more productive we will be, how quicker we will be able to do things, what else can we achieve. However, and I do a lot of conferences and speaking, I not so much hear people talking how AI will change the way we as humans feel about the work and while working. And that's in a nutshell what I want to really go deep today, because I heard this story, I think a half a year ago, which really triggered my in-depth consideration about what it is actually we are going into nowadays. There was a use case of one of my colleagues, not from Danone, and another FMCG big company, when she was explaining how she was trying to fully automate the production factory. And when analyzing what it is that people are actually doing there, processes, activities, and where the AI will bring the maximum value, they did, and actually I do not often hear that approach, highly recommend to do that in your company, they started asking people, who actually, the shop floor employees, what it is that they not only do, but what do they value in their work, and when do they feel the most proud of. And when she started hearing that actually the shop floor employees in factory feel that their day was super great is when they managed to solve something. It was this hero moment that actually made the whole going to the factory day worth a visit. The funny thing is that this is exactly what they wanted to automate in order to have no problems to solve. If you think deep, what these people would be needed for, or valued for, or how they will feel by going to the work to do something that doesn't bring them emotions, that made the whole life full of meaning. And in a nutshell, this is really like we now talk about people will have to move from doing the job into monitoring it. There is a famous meme in internet that the key skill of the future is doing nothing, feeling important. However, this is not really the case for everyone, and because you really need to change the way you're wired and what you do in your brains to really feel that you exist as humans. So I would suggest today to really look not like what it will be tomorrow or day after tomorrow, but a bit further ahead. Because the problem with all transformations that, especially when we do it in big scale in companies, no one actually needs that much someone who think or see 5 steps ahead. We as corporates are normally ready for 1 step, maybe 2 steps, because time, years, budget, people change, stakeholders, 5 steps ahead is too far away. But the scale of change that we are going through now might catch us off guard if we do not really look into, I would say, into ourselves. So it will be more about how this changes us as humans. And I think this is the clicker. Who I am to talk about this to you today. My name is Mariya. I work in Danone now for already 10 years, but I specialize in doing transformations for living. Soon it will be almost 20 years of various transformation background, and I always make jokes that I've done most of the types of transformations you can think of, in corporate consulting, small, medium scale companies that you can think of, most probably I've done it. And besides doing transformations for living, I also do board roles, speaking. I'm really passionate about teaching or bringing people into the future through stories of the technologies. And last but not the least, I really consider myself as an advocate of women in tech, in management, in boardroom, because not only it's about diversity, but we bring different way of brains and the way to look at the things that is so much needed nowadays and will be needed, because if we automate everything, we will be left with ourselves to face humans and to develop actually quite what is called feministic values like compassion, empathy, and we really need it more in the way we construct our transformations. Important disclaimer, what it is that I'm going to tell today, I will be telling less from, say, my Danone perspective or experience, but more from myself. from my experience in all the companies I've worked in all the transformations I've done, and also with many other companies and clients and boards that I talk to bring something different to address while you do transformations. Because in the end, when you try to transform company, and I started doing, and again, my background is quite diverse. How did I get to digital? I started doing it in 2018, and back then, for you to understand the complexity of normal FMCG company, in 2018, there was no one at global level, and I was back in CIS, to even guide us what it would mean for Danone back in 2018 to become digital. And even though back then you got all this fuss about Airbnb, Uber, Amazon, digital by design companies, how this gonna change and is changing the world. The question was always what it is that we're gonna do with incumbent organizations like Danone, like most of the FMCGs that produce water, bread, yogurt, basic things. How do you digitalize it or automate it when people still need it to eat? And that was the question I had to face myself, because again, there was no one at global level to provide us a vision. Spoiler and long story short, I figured it out. However, and ever since, and I've done digital transformations, data transformations, AI analytics, and now doing business data governance, so all the possible aspects of what it is to bring organization into future-enabled world. And what I see, the key, I wouldn't even call it a problem. The key thing is, of course, people. Because whenever you try to do, and I'm working now in French company, so French company is quite a specific entity, in order to transform anything, it never works when you just go from the top down or you install processes. We don't have processes that much. We hire great people, empower them to figure out the mess. So how do you transform this type of people-driven company? You always need to find this, I would call it bifurcation points, or certain buttons which you need to figure out and press in order to launch the change. And in that sense, data, AI, and digital is not that much different. You need to understand where to push in the organization and in people's mind to make this change. And in the end, it's all about people. For me, and again, this format is quite short, so I will try to give you 3 things that I think super important when we talk about digital transformation AI to take with you to be successful in what you do as transformation. For me, to make human-centric data empowerment, digital transformation, AI, whatever you call it, there are 3 things you need to consider. First, business relevance, to make it actually truly driven by business and business relevant, whatever you implement. And I'll deep dive in all of the 3 of them. Second is, how do you bring your C-level stakeholder management on board? Because even though you, IT, media management, they do understand that this is a future. And as I was just meeting some other people I know, like kids are already there. But unless the top management, who is a bit older and a bit later to the party, understand it and embrace it, most of the changes are just not possible. It might be obvious, but I will give some examples on how to actually deal with that. And last but not the least, and this is my favorite 5 steps ahead, how the things that we're going through would actually change how we feel about work, what we feel while working, and how it might actually change the whole workplace as such, and our relationship between employers and employees, the whole system of working relationship. So when it comes to business relevance, for me, and I've seen so many transformations in various capacities within and outside, one of the key problem is when we start doing something because we think it's a fancy thing to do or we need to get there. There can be 2 different aspects of that. One is implementing big solutions because this is industry standards. It's driven by IT and data team or someone who, like somewhere in the top, decided that we need it, and then try to figure out what to do with that. Or if we think that, okay, we now implement the AI solution and it starts giving us insights, we still don't know which insights we need, but we hope that this magic box will start generating insights that will bring value. I don't know how many of you have seen this situation in corporates. We implemented the tool. Now you even build a team who start analyzing data they don't really understand and bringing you to the business insights. Does this make sense? No. Maybe this makes sense. And then you pay for the team, you pay for the solution. Another aspect can be the opposite, when you have top management who really we really need something sophisticated tools, and I had a few cases that the management asking, okay, we need report in Power BI. But they do not really understand the difference between language models and machine learning. For them, Gen AI or AI is just a fancy concept when you generate beautiful reports and when they want to have it based on the data that is collected manually. How you can do that? No, but that's a different story. You need to figure out. So going through that different options of implementing it, what worked well for me, and I had quite some cases when I launched insights and analytics ways of working from scratch in the function that you would never launch the data digital transformation like it was procurement. The key thing is to actually drive it from business. Though IT, and I think there are many people in IT and data here who would say, no, but we're so important. Yes, you are, but only when you are driven by business. And even though, and I always make jokes about HR, finance, or IT and data, they all feel so important that they're actually doing the key partnering and business driving role. The actual business is happening within business. So unless you figure out what it is, not just the conceptual insight, but the business problem they have, and I would say not so many people in business can articulate what it is that the business problem they have. Then think what data insights can help them solve this problem, and then make decisions which will result in, which will bring you business results, why the whole company is working. Only when you deconstruct this and do exactly what is needed, collect the data solutions to make this decision, then it would make sense. And I've always done this digital transformation, and I've been calling myself, not me, but IT were calling myself a shadow IT. That's why I really know what I'm talking about. And I had cases when IT were trying to replicate my structure, to hire people, calling them the same way that my team were called, and doing the same things, trying to get rid of me, because I was a bit early and driving it from business, really making this bridge between IT and business. My key takeaway from that experience is IT can come and build something big and complex and super sophisticated, but without drive from business and understanding it, and it should be appearing there, it will actually not happening. And here again, the first thing, humans. What I mean by humans in business. Because these people who work in procurement, in sales, in developing new products, doing operations, running factories, they are making decisions every day. And we need to get to that very level to understand what it is they do, what problems they face, why it doesn't work at scale, and then go back to what we want to implement to help them do the business. Point number 2 that I wanted to talk about was about how to actually go from experimentations to building foundations. When back in 2018 I started figuring it out, digital transformation, whenever you read any book or any framework or benchmark on how to do digital transformations, and I've even been teaching it in Executive MBA back in CIS, like they always say, what you do, you build data foundations, then you start experimenting, building use cases, and then there is a certain assumption that once you do certain amount of use cases, it will fly to scale. Then it will be obvious what it is that we need to do to scale. However, my experience shows, and I've been talking to many other companies, that what we actually end up is having forest of use cases that companies actually is not able to support. Imagine all the possible functions having here, there use cases, global use cases, regional use cases. They all come to IT. We need resources, analysts, engineers, infrastructure, money to support our properly curated Power BI who does analytics. And like the rest, so they kind of clean the field of data to curate their own problem, and that's good. But how do you scale it? You cannot scale it because the thing is that you need to go back to square one and start building the foundations for that. That's actually what I'm doing right now. And I was really, it was first when I heard why now to do data governance, we're doing so much insights analytics, and I've done it before in my previous roles. The thing is that use cases, what is the value of having lots of use cases? To get to the C-level, for them to finally understand that it's unavoidable and we actually need to figure out. It takes time, it takes convincing power to make them first at small use case level believe and understand. And first, and I always make these jokes, why it is so hard to bring C-level on board? Because when you start talking to them all these fancy words they don't understand, they say like, no, we don't need it. Why? They just don't understand it. And how you'd make it, and especially when you do it a big presentation with everyone there, and you talk complex words, they cannot allow themselves to stand up and say, I don't understand what you're talking about. So they would pretend they don't need it, or it's too complex, so we need to first figure out something else, and then to address it. So again, in order to get to any C-level, you need to talk human to human. That's always my key superpower. Whenever I need to do transformation, I really do this one-to-one conversation, C-level, because you need to get to the level where they will actually show up what it is they need to understand. Once they get it through, and I had so many transformations when we started with people saying, I don't give, and I quote like a XXX about your transformation, I need to protect my team from you. And after half of the year, they were telling, this is the most important thing we need to do in our organization, because, and if anyone is against it, we need to figure it out. Because you need to do the change at the people level. And then when you have a first group of board, C-level, regional onboarded, then you get to the top level when they figure out, yes, we totally need to change it, even those companies who are producing bread, milk, water. But how do we do that? Here it comes to the data governance. We need to figure out the data. We need to clean the, what they say, garbage in, garbage out, clean the garbage in order to be able to scale. But it all starts with people. And last but not the least, when we talk about people, what I do see now, and this is to a certain extent a bit philosophical topic, but we will have to face it quite soon. Nowadays, what we normally say, people are afraid, they lose jobs because to AI, and what we need to bring people, skill them with AI, because people will lose job not to AI, but with people with AI. But think, what's next? Assuming people have these AI skills, they can do certain things faster, they can do certain things quicker. Will we need so many people in our workplace to do the job? Worst thing that I'm seeing is that actually AI is automating not the boring things that help us prosper, but it takes the most interesting jobs from us. And it's not about internet memes when you have people saying like, I wanted AI to do my laundry, not to do the art thing while I'm doing my laundry. It's not a joke. And I hear that from people from another FMCG companies. We go through a whole interview process to hire talented people to do what? You do the use cases. You implement sophisticated AI to do complex analysis, and then this talented person download the data from this AI, copy-paste it, upload it to another sophisticated AI. Why did we hire them? But assuming we will solve it in the future, and we will have it automated flow, what do these people will be doing? Do we know, as companies, what to do with them? Yes, we can always say, yes, new jobs will come, new things will come, but would we need them so much? And what we do as governments, as states, with the people who will be no longer needed. But for me, what is interesting here is a bit different. AI would finally change the way we work, because we actually would not need to work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. But then we will have time to think what it is that we actually want to do. And if to think, and my first degree is in sociology, that's why data science was actually 20 years ago, it was called social data analysis, and I used SPSS to do that. And now ended up doing data science. But back then, sociologists, when they were analyzing the workplace, they were saying, okay, it appeared with factories, taylorism, all these things. And people were going to work to earn money. When you no longer needed to survive, how many people will start thinking whether we actually like what we do? What do we feel when we just do and look at the figures? Do we want to do that? And how to differentiate ourselves if everyone will be with an AI skill? What will be your core value proposition to offer to the market? how you can be this half step ahead of this to be valuable, to grow. And in order to do that, you really need to do your calling, to do your purpose there, to bring this extraneous step to be different. Another thing that is happening, nowadays Amazon has recently announced that they plan to return people to the office, and 70 from 1st Jan, and 70% or so said that then we will leave the company. It might be a cheap way to just get rid of people that are no longer needed. However, what we see is that people now have a choice what they want to do, and they don't want to go to the office. But then when as a company I need people in the office, what do? And I see it quite a lot. You hire independent professionals. Who are these independent professionals? These same people before who worked for your company, they went freelance, coming to you to do a B2B job, earning more, working less, but just because they are now free, they had a free choice to do that. Imagine in the future you will have many people doing independent professionals. And how do we as a company attract these people? How do we build ways to develop them? Whether it will be a different job to develop these independent professionals. Or people will start building portfolio careers when you have 2 days or 3 days doing here, 2 days doing there. How do we as a company will maintain this whole thing of working with people we actually want? And one last thing, and that's why I think the next big thing would be not data-driven companies, but human-first by design companies. And I'm happy to continue the conversation in a separate track.
I think that's fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, please, round of applause for Mariya. You may well have used one of her company's products today. Thank you so much for your time.